Warning: All Things Crime is a true crime production that may contain violent or disturbing material. Viewer or listener discretion is advised. Honestly, I think every elected official, before they open their mouths, should go on a ride along.
Well, they're not going to do that. They're not going to do, again, it's the same reason why they're not going to do the simulations rounds. They're not going to do the virtual police tactics course. It's going to destroy their narrative. With that, they're not going to be able to say, do a unarmed car stop with a straight face. They're just not. After taking a police tactics course, I'm not going to do that. After doing a ride along where they see what happens, where they encounter a public that might be combative, God forbid they go on a job that goes completely sideways. It's going to change their entire narrative. I mean, it should happen. There should be at least a class where some of these elected officials that have these outlandish ideas of what policing should and shouldn't be, should they take some sort of class? Sure. But they're not going to.
To me, there can't be enough voices out there saying, we have got to stop this madness. Protesting is fine, but the moment you pick up a brick, the moment you threaten somebody, it is no longer a protest. You are now a rioter, and you are now a lawbreaker, and you need to be held account.
Well, yeah, that's why there was a collective eye roll when a certain former first lady said that the protests were mostly peaceful. Every cop was like, excuse me. Every cop was, I was out there. It wasn't mostly peaceful. When they were throwing lots of cocktails out of vans, when they were burning down stores and they were looting the Nike store and the Foot Locker and the Apple stores, that wasn't mostly peaceful. There was a small block during the day when they were peacefully protesting, and those people were all fine. They peacefully protested and they went home. It was what happened that night that really defined what was going on. Nobody boards their stores up over mostly peaceful protests. You don't impose a time limit on when people can go out over a mostly peaceful protest. I mean, like I said, it's a matter of being honest with people. Mostly peaceful, not an honest phrase when you're describing these bona fide riots that went on. So, just you have to introduce honesty into all of this, or else nothing gets fixed. And you're right. The people in these high crime neighborhoods would give us a small nod when they saw us, or a quick thumbs up. They didn't really want to be seen giving the cops a thumbs up, but they would give us a small nod, a small thumbs up. Those are the people that we need to be more vocal. I would say 95%, over 95% of people that live in these high crime neighborhoods, they want us out there, enforcing the laws and keeping people safe and doing our jobs. You never hear over policing from them. You always hear over policing from these activists that don't live in these neighborhoods, from these elected officials that don't live anywhere near these neighborhoods. But the people actually that live in these neighborhoods, I would say they need to get more vocal. They need to have more of a voice, more of a say, because they want us out there. Because when you defund the police, when you put handcuffs, so to speak, on the police, when you restrict what police do, they're affected, and they know it, and they feel it.
Yeah, the Mayor de Blasio is never going to be without security.
Yeah.
No matter what rules that he puts down on the rest of New York, none of those rules are going to ever affect him. And to me, that's the number one problem with most of these activists and politicians, is when they put out what they put out, a huge amount of the time, it doesn't actually affect them. To me, it drives me crazy and I had this in college too. Have you ever had a college professor that is teaching on a certain subject, but has never actually done what it is that he or she is teaching? And for example, in college, when I thought I wanted to go into international business.
Okay.
And ironically, I ended up in international business, even though I bailed on that initially. So, how many of us are actually doing what we thought we would be doing when we were 25, right?
Listen,
But
I knew I wanted to go into some sort of protection, but I didn't know what I was going to do. But no, if you had told me at 25 I was going to become a cop, I probably wouldn't have believed you.
yeah, there you go. Well, you're a perfect example of that. But fortunately for you right now, I mean, you have the you have the body type, man. What did you say on one of your podcasts? You're 6'2", like 260, something like that.
Yeah, I played football for a season for my job, so yeah.
There you go. Well, geez, man. Well, I'll tell you, most of the guys that are 6'2", 260, and if you're in as good a shape as I think you are, then yeah, this is a good profession for you, man. You can handle it because I'll tell you what, I was also laughing at one of your podcasts and you're like, yeah, when you get pulled over by the cops, you can just see on their face there. And, and if they ask you to step out of the vehicle and you step out and they're just like, oh, you know what? I hope this doesn't go sideways, man, because if it does, it's going to really hurt.
Well, there was one time I was in Virginia, and there's a speed trap set up, and the trooper gets out of his vehicle, and of course, I pulled over right away, windows down, hands on the wheel, and I remember he got to the car, he just looked at me, and he goes, "Sir, can I get your license, registration?" So I hand him everything. He says, "Sir, step out of the car." So now I'm thinking, oh boy, what's going to happen? I didn't know in certain spots in Virginia, this is actually standard practice. They just want you to get out the car so that they can take a good look at you. And I got out the car, and the look he gave me, he just goes, "Oh no!" Like he actually vocally said, "Oh no." So I go, "Can I hand you one more piece of ID in my back pocket?" He says, "Sure." I give him my job ID, and he goes, "Oh, thank God." Turns out we had rented a vehicle, and the vehicle's license plate came back to a whole bunch of suspended summonses, which wasn't my fault, which wasn't, I don't know whose fault it was, but he goes, "Yeah, I thought I was going to have to put you in cuffs." And I was just thinking about what was going to happen. I said, "No, we actually wound up becoming friends. I'm friends with him to this day. We call each other and joke around." But he was so visibly relieved that I wasn't going to fight him and that I was actually on his side. So
Oh yeah.
I get
What I
that a
tell
lot.
you, the most hand to hand that I ever did was I went to Ranger School with the Army. There's a certain section of Ranger School where it's more about just beating the crap out of each other than it is actually teaching, how to do actual hand to hand.
Uh-huh.
And there's a period in there that once you figured out what was going on for the training, you're just like, okay, I got to find somebody that is like smaller and weaker than me because I'm going to get the crap kicked out of me. And if there's some dude that looks like you, that's going to be a bad day. And so I can kind of relate with that. But, there's just enough of scenarios that you just anybody that's played sports and you're coming around the end and you see some dude that's like twice as big as you and he's got a full head of steam and he just plows into you. You're just like, yeah, that hurt. Okay. I'm not sure that I want to do this anymore. And, but every cop goes through that scenario. And that's another one of the things that I'm like, these politicians that say, well, not every officer needs to have a service weapon on them when they pull somebody over. And when I can't imagine what your reaction was, but when I heard that, I was just like, are you out of your mind? These guys have absolutely no idea what they're walking up on. And, they don't know if this guy is going to be peaceful like you were. If the officer is 5'10" and 180 and some guy 6'2", 260 gets out of the car, what are they going to do?
Well, I mean, in my situation, it's always helped a lot. My size has actually always helped a lot because I get voluntary compliance more often than not. I mean, yeah, sometimes it's always the little guys too that always want to fight me, like,
well,
but I do get voluntary compliance more often than not. As far as the whole don't take guns to a traffic stop mentality that's going on. These people, again, this is the same shoot them in the leg crowd. This is the same, tackle the gun wielding bad guy crowd. You have no idea what it is to pull a car over. I even said, you can search YouTube and there's hundreds of videos of cops being ambushed on car stops. Aside from domestics, it's the most dangerous thing we do. And these people don't understand that. They think that everything can get solved with just a quick, tap on the shoulder, or a quick, hey, sir, do this for us. And that's not the case. They don't live in the same reality that we do when we have to pull these cars over. Car stops are dangerous. Again, like I said, my Virginia story, this guy had no idea who he was pulling over. He was pulling over a cop and didn't know it. Could I have been a gangbanger? Sure. Could I have been some guy that just got out of jail that's not going back? Sure. He didn't know that. For these people that are saying, they don't need guns on car stops. So I think Minnesota just said that they're going to have a traffic safety officer that's going to do these car stops from now on. This is going to go bad, and it's going to go very bad very quickly.
I don't know who. I don't know who would sign up for that.
Oh, I certainly wouldn't. Even at my size, I'm not pulling over a car with that I don't know who's in there without a weapon. I need to be protected as well. So I mean, these people are just clueless. That's what it comes down to. They're clueless.
Honestly, I think every elected official, before they open their mouths, should go on a ride along.
Well, they're not going to do that. They're not going to do, again, it's the same reason why they're not going to do the simulations rounds. They're not going to do the virtual police tactics course. It's going to destroy their narrative. With that, they're not going to be able to say, do a unarmed car stop with a straight face. They're just not. After taking a police tactics course, they're not going to do that. After doing a ride along where they see what happens, where they encounter a public that might be combative, God forbid they go on a job that goes completely sideways. It's going to change their entire narrative. I mean, it should happen. There should be at least a class where some of these elected officials that have these outlandish ideas of what policing should and shouldn't be, should they take some sort of class? Sure, but they're not going to. And again, I read Thomas Sowell a lot, and
that dude is amazing.
Oh, he's great. He's great. I discovered him, I would say, about 5 years ago, and I've been reading everything I can to, everything I can get my hands on, which is a shame, by the way, that I only discovered him 5 years ago. He's been doing his thing since long before then.
All right.
But he said that he doesn't waste his time talking to these activists, these reverends that make a career out of race hustling and race baiting. He doesn't waste his time. He's basically asking them to give up their main source of income. And that's the same thing with these elected officials. That's the same thing with these activists. They're not going to give up what makes them easy money. And while we're talking about easy money, I'd like to congratulate the co-founder of BLM on her 4th mansion. That she moved into a white neighborhood, because white supremacy is so horrible and so bad that she had to move into a white neighborhood. It's that kind of thing. She's not going to give up buying mansions, so
yeah.
Why talk her out of it? Why convince her otherwise?
She's got hers. That's what matters.
Exactly. I mean, I don't have a mansion,
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, this nice wood paneling behind me is hiding. Yeah, it's amazing what the virtual world can create. We can make whatever reality we want. But well, Zeek, I appreciate you coming on. I mean, there's so many more things that we need to talk about. We're definitely going to have you on again, because there are so many issues right now with law enforcement that, and again, I try really hard not to make anything, especially this show, political, but it seems that law enforcement and politics and the media and everything are so intertwined right now that you really can't talk about one without talking about the other one. But honestly, just like you, I just completely ignore all of these people that don't actually have a basis to stand on. I'm like, look, if you haven't actually been in a uniform, or at least walked alongside a guy who's in uniform, who's actually trying to enforce the laws that you're talking about, then stop talking about them. Because it's like, ignorance to me is like the worst offense. It's like, don't talk to me if you absolutely have no basis for what you're talking about. And that's why I created this show. I wanted to talk to guys like you so that my audience can actually learn what it's really like out there.
I think social media has given voice to the ignorant. People that have all these opinions on what should and shouldn't happen without actually having experienced it. and policing and law enforcement are, that's like the main thing now that people can voice their opinion on without having an actual education. Like you say, it's ignorance. It's I know what to do to fix this, and then when you present them with facts and logic on why that wouldn't work, now they fall back to calling you names, or they fall back to other ignorant people agreeing with them, and they surround themselves with that like an echo chamber. I'm glad to do things like this where I can give law enforcement a voice, which was always my goal. Like I said, 2 days ago, I just happened to be in the city walking, and a cop screamed, "Zeek!" and just came up to me and said how much he appreciated my words and how much he appreciated what I'm saying, and told me to keep doing what I'm doing. And that's a great feeling. It's just a great feeling. So, thank you for the opportunity.
Well, I 100% agree with you, man. Keep doing what you're doing, because giving your side of the story and getting more of the actual truth, but also the positivity that you guys do. And in fact, I was talking to a crime scene investigator out of Atlanta, and we came up with a hashtag. So maybe on Twitter you can do this. It's called hashtag Posipol, POSIPOL. And it's kind of a play off of Interpol. It stands for Positive Police Pictures. I got thinking that, there's around 700,000 law enforcement officers out there just in the US. Imagine how much different things would be if every single cop took one picture. And even if it's not about them, because I know cops hate, doing selfies and stuff like that, but just take a picture and put that hashtag Posipol on it of something that you guys do. Because I know you have tons of buddies that are out there that they're buying shoes for the homeless. They are buying meals. They're helping people change tires. They're doing all this service, amazing things that happen all the time. And yet they rarely get credit for it. And one of the biggest problems is you guys have to stand up. And when I say you guys, I'm talking law enforcement in general. It can't just be the Zeek show. It has to be more than just you guys, or just speaking for the law enforcement community. Everybody has to contribute. But imagine if 700,000 pictures hit social media in some form or fashion with that hashtag on it every day, the difference that would make.
Well, I mean, I think the main problem, especially here in New York, that a lot of cops run into, is like you said earlier, they're afraid to voice their opinions. They're afraid to put their true feelings out there. Even me, like it took a while for me to get comfortable expressing my views, just because you feel like you're doing something wrong just by having pro-police views. Sometimes you're going away from the narrative. So I think more cops need to be let know. They need to let more cops know that it's okay to have pro-police views. It's okay to have pro-America views. You just need to break out of that whole mentality where you need to, you feel the need to cover up how you feel because you don't want to get in trouble, so to speak, or you don't want anybody to think something of you. Go ahead, be loud with it. My entire family knows how I feel. Thankfully, they support me. And I think if more cops came out and just said how they feel, it would lead to, in effect, a domino effect. And that's also what I'm trying to encourage. It's okay to voice how you feel.
Absolutely. Love it, man. Okay. Well, hey, let's pause everything like that. I know, especially as a military officer, I have an amazing opinion on that lieutenant that got pulled over, but let's save that for another episode.
Sounds good.
All right. Well, hey, appreciate you coming on, and you have a good day, and be safe out there. And like how you always say, hey, we got your six, man.
Thank you. I've got yours as well. Thank you so much.
Okay. Have a good day.
Thank you. You too.